Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
In honor of Black History Month, we thought we'd pay tribute and showcase the great defining Black characters the world has come to love.
This year we're doing something brand new. Instead of talking fictional Black heroes on the page and screen, we've decided to celebrate the real-life heroes that make the things we love on the page and screen possible. Each of the four prolific icons, a titan in their respective field.
So without further delay, let's get to the season finale and explore the history of Chadwick Boseman, the legend on Black History Heroes. That's right, folks. All right, it's our one and only live Black History Heroes for the year. We thought that this one was so big that we kind of had to try to have a live audience for it. I don't know how good that will come out because I didn't advertise this I advertised this pretty close to showtime, but we'll see who shows up. So Dragon, big one. Of course, I feel like we already kind of did a retrospective on Chadwick Boseman when we lost him last year. And man, I got to tell you, the wound is still pretty deep with that one.
I mean, Tiki, not even last year. I mean, roughly 6 months. I mean, it hasn't even been a year.
I know, that's crazy to think about.
I know. That's what's even sad about it. It still feels fresh.
It definitely, absolutely still feels fresh, man. Absolutely.
I mean, getting ready for this thing made me go through some stuff, man. It's a rough.
Oh, one. I know. This is, kind of like we already went through his career, so this is going to be kind of like more sort of putting his career into historical context, if you will. All right. We got Claude Coringa in the comments. Good to see you, Claude. Happy you're here. He says, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda forever. Yes, indeed. All right. So, Dragon, Boseman is a very interesting case, man. Of course, he is going to live on and be defined by Black Panther. No question about it. That is his defining role. I would say in a lot of ways he's pretty much the Black equivalent to Superman and Christopher Reeves. He kind of just he paved the way. And honestly, Dragon, that to me was the most painful part of losing him by a country mile was just knowing that that Chadwick Boseman was an icon, was a hero, was a Superman to just countless African American and just Black kids the world over, not just African American, but all throughout the world. Just he was absolutely just this towering Black icon from the minute that he stepped on screen. And so just I kind of felt the loss through them. You know what I mean? It's like for me, it's like he really was just kind of Black Panther. I wasn't really too invested in the guy before he died. He was cool. Don't get me wrong. He seemed like a really talented actor, a really pleasant personality. But he wasn't one of those people that I was like following and like, oh man, like I need to know every in and out detail of what Chadwick Boseman is up to. But I know that there are people like that. There's a bunch of people like that, and my heart goes out to everyone who had Chadwick as kind of like an icon of theirs. I mean, it must have been just a universally devastating loss, Dragon. So we're here to celebrate the man. I'm sure there'll be some tears and some sadness along the way, but we're here to celebrate the career, the life, the legacy. Dragon, any other thesis statements on your end before we get started?
Well, sure. I mean, also just kind of introductory point for me. So I remember I glimpsed Chadwick Boseman in 42. So I don't think I saw 42 all the way through for the first time, but when I did, that's like basically there was this press event. I can't remember exactly what exactly it was for. There was a press event that was announcing the slate of Marvel films getting into Phase 3, which basically built around the big reveal, like, hey, you were expecting this Captain America Serpent movie. In reality,
I love that. I love that fake out. That was so good.
Yep, and we're thinking, okay, we're going deep into the Hydra stuff, and in actuality, Civil War, and And hey, look,
Captain America Serpent Society is like the ultimate, like, it sounds legit, but it also sounds somewhat boring, but it's like, oh, okay, Serpent Society, all right, why not?
yeah, 'cause in
But
my
then it's
head,
like, no, oh my god, Civil War, forget this Serpent Society crap.
yeah. Because I mean, for a moment, I'm thinking, okay, we're going in deep on Hydra for the
Right,
Bucky
right.
conclusion, but then it gets even better. Like, oh my god, Civil War, and just this again. Then Downey Jr. and Chris Evans walk out on stage. How can this possibly get any better? We're doing Black Panther. Initially, we thought in lieu of Spider-Man, but in a perfect world, we got them both. We got both Black Panther
Was
and
Chadwick on
Spider-Man.
stage then for the
Yeah, he was on
announcement?
stage then. He
Yeah.
walked out on stage. They announced him, and he
Nice.
walked out on stage. So it was like the big greats. You had Iron Man, you had Captain America, and Black Panther being introduced by him. So that was, and of course, the big thing that he had been known for, and the big kind of go-to pull, like, oh yeah, the guy who played Jackie Robinson, 42. That's who they got. Okay, I'm very lightly familiar with that guy. All right, so
I mean, it's so appropriate because he played Jackie Robinson, he played James Brown. We're going to get into it, Dragon. This is kind of the heart of our discussion here, but he is an actor who played icons, and he himself rose to be an icon in his own right.
Yeah. I mean, of course, just for me again, he perfectly embodied T'Challa. The thing with Civil War for me, this is where I get my main Civil War stuff out of the way here, is that I could have gone home happy with Civil War, with the Black Panther stuff we got in Civil War alone, because that was like all my wish fulfillment with Black Panther I ever wanted to see. Like, oh my god, he's in the story. He's like, the bulletproof costume. He's played so well. To have the whole like thrust upon the royal legacy. Like
He has the best action scene in the movie. Don't at me, bro. It's better than the airport scene.
Of course, me. I love the end. I love his basically his introduction is at the end of Act 1, which is basically the best part of the movie. And again, I love Cap doing that tackle to save. I think about this, Tiki. What they did is kind of like his introduction in the Fantastic Four. He takes out the Fantastic Four, in that first issue, like, which again they had just fought Galactus, and then he takes out the Fantastic Four. So here it's like, okay, the biggest bad that we have in the MCU at this point that actually took was the Winter Soldier. So he's about to take out the Winter Soldier. And Cap has to stop him. Like, it's great. So of course, after Black Panther and after his passing, I looked into his filmography and the man himself, and we were lucky enough to bear witness to a true movie star, like in the days of old when it came to Boseman, like a modern day Sidney Poitier. Just that absolutely. And he left this world too soon, and my God, did he leave a mark for the better? The man became a legend. He lived a life worth celebrating, which is why we're here today.
All right, so let's get into the legacy. Of course, like I said, Dragon, he's an embodiment of just two big historical Black icons, but really three, because it's fair to say that Black Panther, in his own right, is a historical Black icon, being the first major African American, or not, I keep saying African American, Dragon, I'm sorry, being the first major Black superhero.
Yeah.
Because T'Challa is not American. I need to check myself on that. All right. I mean, that just kind of like defines his career. It's a really cool, just kind of like, all right, like, this is the guy. This is the go-to guy. If we ever, I bet you he would have done more, like, let's say a Sidney Poitier movie down the line. I bet you he could have squeezed into the shoes of any number of Black icons if he had more time to hone his craft. It really did seem to be like his calling card. He was a chameleon that way.
Absolutely, he was the go-to guy for all the biopics. Embodying those historical Black icons. Of course, as you mentioned, portrayed the first Black superhero in comics on film, which is huge. The base is kind of a chain link effect.
Not the first Black superhero on film. Want to just correct that for anyone who thinks he is.
True. That's what I'm saying.
I would cite you, Mr. Wesley Snipes, in that regard.
Sure, but again, like, he's playing the first Black superhero from comics on film, which is he's playing like essentially the Superman equivalent, if you will, which is huge. So of course, a few kind of chain link kind of effects here, just with the Black Panther of it all. He was starring in the first both Oscar-nominated superhero film, which is huge in itself.
That was a big deal.
and the highest-grossing black film of all time. Pretty impressive. Let's see. Of course, Howard University
beat
is very.
Eddie Murphy's Coming to America, right?
That it did, yeah. Before Coming to America was the record holder, which again is kind of the comedy version of Black Panther. So then the real one comes along and it takes the proper spot. Awesome.
And so just to plug ourselves, Dragon, we've done Eddie Murphy, we did Mark Bernardin, and then we also did Dragon, like my memory is shit. What was the first one we did? Floyd Norman. So yeah, go back and check out all of those. The Eddie Murphy one in particular, it's a longer one, but I think we did a really good job with it. Anyways, just a couple comments here. Claude says the What If Black Panther episode is going to be.
That's going to be the last we're going to ever hear.
You know what's funny is that's Guardians of the Galaxy too, and Guardians of the Galaxy as a franchise just gives me the feels just in general. So goddamn, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. Plus, we're making him Star-Lord, which is like my dream. Oh my god, like we're making Black Panther Star-Lord. It's even better.
Atomic Beast, R.I.P. Black Panther. Your spirit will always remain in the Panther realm. Good job, guys. Thank you so much, Atomic Beast. Really appreciate that. All right.
So yes, of course, just Howard University is really important in Chadwick Boseman's story. It's a very prestigious black university, and it's of course he was able, towards the end, he was able to give the 150th commencement day speech. When he was getting, like, I believe at the same time he was getting like an honorary PhD. He graduated, but they gave him like an extra, like a doctorate as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Again, gave the 150th speech. It's pretty nice. Big numbers. Okay, so Chadwick Boseman did a litany of phenomenal charity work just to kind of highlight it. Overall,
and honestly, man, his charity work just in its own right can make him just a hero. Like if it had nothing to do with his acting, man, his charity work is just staggering.
I mean, I'm going to sound all cheesy here. I'm truly moved by the charity work that he did because, St. Jude's, one, is a really good hospital because when you donate to St. Jude's, it actually goes to the research and, like, doesn't go, like, keeping the lights on. It goes towards the research.
No, St. Jude's is, like, I don't, like, actively support a lot of charities, Dragon, just because there's a lot of sketchy things that go down with charities sometimes.
Yeah.
But St. Jude's is absolutely one that I would. I'm probably going to put a link to St. Jude's in the video description once we're done with this. Just in his memory for sure. Anyways,
St. Jude's, he did a lot of visits for the sick children, especially in the cancer ward, which is really, poetically kind of tragic and heroic at the same time. He gave them gifts, like a whole bunch of Black Panther merchandise. Which
I'd like to think that he specifically, because of course the big thing with him is that, I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead a little, but the big thing with him is, throughout all of the Black Panther stuff, throughout all of the MCU stuff, the stuff that's going to make him a legend for sure, the guy was suffering in silence the whole time. And so I do wonder if that's why he specifically seeked out the cancer ward.
I think so, at least on some level, for sure. I mean, again, that's definitely at the height of the Black Panther. So certainly he would have at that point, known, because again, there's like a year, it's right after Civil War that he finds out. Like after Civil War's in theaters, that's when he finds out. So anyway,
still so tough just to think about.
I know. So again, honestly, all of his charities were very youth oriented. Very much, he always cared for the kids. I mean, both they're the Boys and Girls Club. Essentially, was he sent them all to see Black Panthers. They were all eager to see it. So he kind of.
Oh, that's awesome. Of course, Boys and Girls Club. A lot of them are very inner city. So I'm sure you got like a lot of poor Black kids who probably haven't been able to see the movie otherwise.
That's precisely awesome. What it was. And then you had the Jackie Robinson Foundation, which, again, is very youth-oriented. Got a lot of support drawn up for that. And let's see. So this thing I did not know about at all. I had no idea that he donated $4.2 million in protective supplies and basically protective supplies and I guess just kind of like mask and resources for communities to battle the COVID-19 virus. So I love like this last act of heroism that he got in there with his charity work. I had no idea about he's trying to protect people at the worst time.
I mean, right up until the end, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Right up until the end. That's again, because we're so shocked. Part of me keeps thinking he died in 2019, which
I know.
because again, these years have got us all screwed up, and I keep forgetting, like, oh my god, yeah, he was there, and he was even helping
2019
during
does
that.
not feel like it was like 2 years ago, Dragon. It feels like it was 5 years ago.
Yep. So, all these heroic gestures, helping the kids and saving the world one last time with gestures like that, just utterly, just wonderful. And of course, the tragic last thing that he did for sure. I mean, more so in the aftermath of things, for his legacy is that he raised a lot of prostate cancer awareness in light of his untimely passing at 43, and of course, amidst like that 4-year battle in secret that none of us knew about, which is just
for better or for worse, Dragon, I am kind of scared shitless of prostate cancer because of him.
Yep.
It just like an illness that just sneaks up on you like that, man. Like suffice to say, I'm definitely gonna have the proper checkups, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, now you do it at 45, little mister.
Right.
Yep, and now it's a little, again, a little PSA for the folks out there: get it done a little earlier than 50. Will definitely help. And again, the scary thing about prostate cancer that I believe Boseman kind of got out there in the light of Boseman is that it doesn't have any discriminatory factors per se. It's that there is it doesn't matter how your diet is; it's just going to hit you. It's just going to strike anyone. That's what's scary about it. But so we kind of raised awareness on something people have kind of written off for sure. So definitely a lot of awareness spread. Kind of again the last heroic acts of kind of Chadwick Boseman in life, definitely kind of helping better the world, which is really powerful. Really good stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right, what's next?
All right, so let's talk the beginnings, and now we're going to break down the career, folks. So let's talk about the man's beginnings before we get to said career. So so Chadwick Boseman, he starts off in South Carolina. He's a kid born in the late '70s in Anderson, South Carolina. His mother was a nurse, father worked in textiles. That's fabric to the kids out there. Textiles are fabric. He's not making like tiles for floors. No, it's fabric. And it's kind of I might be reaching here. Chadwick Boseman always had an amazing style. The man knew how to dress, and I'd like to think perhaps maybe in life kind of took a little bit of his parents' kind of trades with him in life. He's a really well dressed man, and also he helped people in the health community, of course, with his own health battle and the kids and everything. A little bit like the nurse looking out for somebody, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, the well-dressed nature and the looking out for people nature, he really did kind of like embody T'Challa in that way, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the fascinating kind of heady thing when we look at Boseman's career and his life is that, my God, the man tied into these figures that he played so eerily well. It coats the whole journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So early age, he had an interest in martial arts, and we know that paid off. Dear God, did that pay off? As a kid and all the way to adulthood, martial arts helped, I'm sure.
I'm just picturing who his eccentric karate instructor is.
Probably Miyagi-Do.
Dragon, my dad and I, we binged through half of season 3 yesterday. I finally figured out how to connect my laptop to his TV. It's glorious. I'm watching WandaVision with him, and literally it's impossible to tell him anything about it, to answer any of his questions without spoiling anything. He's just like, what's going on? Are they in some sort of simulation? I'm like, yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Anyway,
don't mean to derail things. Let's get into his origin story, Dragon. Every good hero has an origin story, and his starts in South Carolina.
Yeah. Yes, of course, in South Carolina, he's playing basketball in high school. He has aspirations to be an architect, much like Mark Bernardin in his early days as well. I get a sense that growing up in certain in certain cultures, perhaps it's like there's always like remember Mark Bernardin's his father was I'm blanking on it. His father was from Haiti, I believe, and he can basically try to impart. He tried to impart like and go for the practical craft, go for something that's gonna make money and provide security. And again, I imagine there's seeing that his father worked a very practical job in textiles, probably a factory job. It's it's always kind of the older generation imparting kind of the useful skill, looking out for the future, which definitely kind of struck a chord with him in life when he's trying to kind of embrace kind of the artistic side of life for the next generation going forward. Embrace for the kids very much so. Anyway, so yeah, aspirations to be an architect, but his parents absolutely embraced the acting dream. Once he kind of stumbled upon that, like he wanted to do this, and it wasn't directly he wanted to be an actor. It was basically the craft of entertainment, and actually started on the stage, which I suppose we'll transition to. So in high school,
well, a lot of actors start in doing like high school plays, like you were gonna say, yeah.
yeah, and plays, but honestly, more so. So again, I assume high school plays have to factor into it. So that takes us to again the almighty Howard University. Howard University is in Washington D.C. It's a famous black university. I want to say been in operation since 1867. The idea is like this was like one of the this is an open-minded, very progressive school.
Wow, 1860. So was that like post Civil War then? Like was this like a
yeah, I think so.
Like one of the first establishments to really kind of like welcome in the African American population with open arms into the education system?
I'm pretty sure. I mean,
that's fascinating in its own right, Dragon. We could do a Black History Heroes just based on this school.
See, the thing about Howard University, you're going to hear anyone who went to Howard University, which a lot of the top black towns, by the way, they adore Howard University because of that fact and because of many other facts. And because, again, it was such an inclusive, progressive college and such, people they will speak to the ends of the earth about how great Howard University is. And it seems great, too, because, it really nurtured kind of the things that would come into the fray for a lot of these great actors and talents. And we might, image Tiki, we might need to refresh.
What image?
Yeah, we've gone blank. So. Anyway,
happened, but okay.
So initial. There we go. Now we're good. Yes.
Okay, my bad.
So initially, Chadwick Boseman he pursued directing, which then basically in regards to the theater, he pursued directing as a major, which kind of led to some playwriting and just theater overall.
So he chose my theater path, except he actually went somewhere with it because that's what I was into when I got out of high school was theater directing.
Yeah, and if I'm a betting man, because again, though Boseman really got into playwriting. By the way, he really got into the playwriting. I imagine as in pursuit of directing, he kind of oversaw the performances, which perhaps encouraged him to get into the performances himself, which then went into the full blown acting career. If I'm connecting the dots here,
Sure, makes sense.
So this is a huge moment, Tiki. So Chadwick Boseman and his class, a few members of his class, they've applied and earned their way into the summer drama acting program at Oxford University in England, in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Problem: no fundage. They've gotten in there, but they cannot afford to go there. They can't afford to go stateside all the way to the jolly old UK. They can't do it. But his mentor, one of his teachers at Howard, was the great Phylicia Rashad.
Oh yeah, I've heard of her.
Yeah. Joe Gardner's mom from Soul, Phylicia Rashad.
Yeah, right.
So basically, Phylicia Rashad, one of his teachers, he told her this, so she made a call. She made a very special call to one of the other former Howard University alum, the great Denzel Washington.
Ooh.
So she calls Denzel Washington, tells him the situation. Basically, between Phylicia Rashad and especially Denzel Washington, they fund all of these students to go to Oxford and take part in this drama program. And after this, I don't know if there was like a scholarship involved afterwards or not, but Boseman, he was able to go to school in Africa for a while. His first trip to Africa ever. He went to Ghana. Applied the theatrical craft to Africa. It was in a big way. Like some tribal performances, I believe. Really special. So the point being, again, he gets the I believe he gets like a bachelor's in directing or so, and the arts, which then kind of leads to him moving to New York to kind of apply his theater training to the New York theater scene.
Yeah.
I mean, just in a roundabout ways, in Brooklyn being the takeaway. He goes to the Harlem Black Cultural Center, which is awesome. He plays at the Apollo. He played at the Apollo, man.
I mean, that's like a rite of passage for black performers, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. So, so absolutely, he's. So let's see. Anyway, so that's his time in New York. Then he goes to L.A. in 2008. So that's all in 2000. So 2008 rolls around. 8 years later, he kind of makes the move to L.A. And that's when he gets into some rudimentary film and television. The really cool thing about Boseman in his acting path is that he very clearly avoided stereotypical roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he would, you never. I imagine if you went, he had like bit parts. Like he would show up like in guest spots for episodes. Like he'd be like probably the guy who leads to the guy on CSI or something. You know, he'd be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll never see him as like a gangbanger or something. He never. I don't. At the very least, if he did, there would be layers to the character.
I would
not
feel
be
like
the stereotypical.
the root word for the characters he would play, Dragon, and I feel like this goes throughout his entire career, is dignified.
Yeah, absolutely. Dignity being the operative. Like these characters would have like a layer, like really good complex layers to them or something. It would not be like a simple, like it wouldn't be one dimensional for sure.
Like, I mean, honestly, I could see him, you know, I know this never happened, but I could see him hypothetically on a show like The Wire playing a quote unquote gangbanger type, but, you know, giving like a ton of layers to that character, you know,
for
ton of humanity to it.
So, and again, he did this for a reason too. He didn't want to like he wanted to avoid the bad precedent being set by Hollywood at that time. You know, he wanted to convey a good message. And, so he took bit parts, eventually landed a recurring role in the show called Lincoln Heights, which I assume kind of led to, again, okay, we have this guy's starting to get a name. Like the idea people in the industry probably saw the show like, hey, let's cast him in this movie we got going on. So he ends up in some sports films like this one called The Express, the Ernie Davis story. You know, again, the really cool thing about Boseman in the industry in the early days too, in his earlier formative days, is that he called out TV writers on stereotypical elements. Mm-hmm. That was a make or break for him. It's like, hey, guys, you got to change this, otherwise, you know, I don't want to do the role, or like we got to change this guy.
I bet he hated reality TV.
I imagine he did.
I'm just saying, like, reality TV is not great for race relations, Dragon. As much as I love Survivor.
So before we jump into like the career, because basically his career takes off after these initial, like he's starting to like build a name, like, oh, he's the guy from that sports movie. So he's he's starting to appear. Just overall, like anything you want to get about Boseman the person himself, because I mean I would like to remark that he really kept private. He kept his life private in an interesting way,
which kind of defined the way he died too. Absolutely.
Like we're all just learning about these amazing things, in his passing too, which is kind of like it's a shame, but it's also a heck of a hat trick when you think about it, because it's been speculated. And I think it's absolutely correct
because he didn't want it to define him. You know what I mean? He wanted to do it just out of the goodness of his heart. You know, and I feel like that in itself just makes him even more of a hero in that regard. I mean, I think the interesting thing about this, right, is like, I really do feel like he would be very, very hesitant for people to throw around the words hero or icon or legend. You know what I mean? But the man just was in his own, just by his very actions. You know, like I said, even if Black Panther wasn't in the equation, just by the charity work, he would be a hero.
Certainly. I mean, it's been said by people he's worked with that he was a very humble guy. You know, he was very humble, and personally, he was religious, but he didn't go like boasting about it. It seems, he just kept private. And that's the thing. And the speculated reason that maybe he did all of this, and I absolutely think it's true, is that he kept private to separate the actor from the performance. Which kind of makes it all the better. He kind of separate the guy behind the scenes from like the roles that he creates, so it's completely flawless. That again, that adds to the chameleon factor. It's an old school tactic.
Sure.
The man was married in secret. The man kept those two lives so wonderfully, separate. And it's you don't see that in an actor these days. That's why it's so remarkable. I know it's like, why are they digging so much into why he's, what he was behind it? But it was important, folks. Like, you never hear about that. It's always like, we know too much about these celebrities. It's a big problem now, especially in the age of Twitter and God knows what. Boseman did not have that problem. The only thing that he would post on Twitter, I imagine, was like, "Hey, visited the children's hospital today. We helped a lot of people." Like, that's the kind of social media we should have, but we don't.
All right. Dragon, we can turn this into a whole diatribe about how toxic social media is.
But that's not what we're here to do. We're going to talk about the milestones in the man's career. So as we've kind of said in a roundabout way already, so we all know Chadwick Boseman through his work and how very much he was kind of the ultimate educator on Black history. Through his roles, in a sense, and that's kind of what we're doing here. We're celebrating Black history. So the way we've kind of structured this, we're going to go through some.
I bet you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that's basically kind of the way we've structured this here. So again, to celebrate how we educated everyone on Black history with the magnitude of his roles. Not many, but all very, very special and very different. We've kind of structured as such to kind of highlight, kind of like the man's progression as well as, kind of the impact he's had through other, massive Black icons through history.
Yeah, and I feel like he is just kind of like he must be just like a fixture in high school classrooms, between films like 42 and Get On Up. God, I'm sure those films get heavy rotation in high school history classes.
Yeah, anytime a gym teacher is sick or something happens, they got to stay inside. They're playing 42.
Or something like that. Yeah, something to that extent. Absolutely.
I mean, for better, more noble reasons, ideally. But I'm just saying, it's like, hey, well, we need an inspirational sports movie that actually teaches you something that's actually accurate. Well, 42, put 42 in.
Yeah, honestly, I'm thinking less PE Dragon. I mean, like I said, with 42 in particular, it very much is a historical movie.
It is. I'm just trying to draw the sports connect, but you're right.
No, I know.
In a history class, yeah. Wouldn't it be great if you could be enriched in gym class, though? Wouldn't that be nice?
It'll never happen, but yes.
Okay, so let's speaking of 42, let's start there. So 42, assumedly, now I can't prove this. I assume they basically cast an unknown, which is how Boseman got the role, because he was in a sports movie. He was not the star of that sports movie. Tiki. At this point in Boseman's career, he had 2 movies before 42. So what happened was he had that sports film where he was like a really ancillary, like PS sort of player.
Yeah.
And he then starred in a movie that didn't do well. So basically he starred in it. So they're thinking, okay, well, we need to know this guy has experience. He was in a sports thing, and we might recognize him a little from that TV show Lincoln Heights. Let's go to him. Plus, he looks like the role he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
So very much, yeah. Go on.
Go ahead.
So, of course, story 42 and how it connects here. It's a Black man who has the potential for being a symbol thrust upon him. It was like this huge, awesome.
That doesn't sound reminiscent of his entire career and life at all, Dragon.
But again, it's such trippy when you go back into these, isn't it?
I know, it really is weird.
Yeah, seriously, 42 boils down to this excellent scene with Harrison Ford, where basically he's giving.
I did not know Harrison Ford was in that. I'm sure.
Yeah, Harrison Ford's. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Harrison Ford's the guy who manages the team. He's the guy who brings them on, and because he wants to draw. This guy's a really good baseball player, and again, I know it's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. The first Black player in a baseball league, especially New York baseball team. Yeah. So what he does here is he kind of like lays it out that, one angry outburst, you will get written off. It's like, oh, well, we tried and we failed. We put a Black guy on the team. He got angry. He kind of ticked everyone off. It was a bad idea. So that's think about the pressure that Jackie Robinson was under. That's what Boseman plays in this movie. Is that one angry outburst, you undo history. The world will be poorer for it. So that basically forces him to combat a lot of pressure and a lot of patience in light of that pressure, which is just astonishing how they do it in the film. And of course, there's the fun few things here, like Jackie Robinson's daughter. She loved the performance. The Robinson family was very happy with how he did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think I love the Jackie Robinson the story and kind of what he brought to us. It's the key to the everyman in the audience, like the non-sports fans, like you or I, for example. It's like, I don't care about baseball, but I do care about one man's struggle. That's why this movie works. That's why, what's what Boseman's bringing to the table. Is like, even if you don't give a lick about baseball, even if you don't care, it's like, you're going to care about like Jackie Robinson and the struggles. Like, there's this one other excellent thing I want to highlight. Is there are these Harrison Ford is dealing with a player on the team who's like, I don't want to play on the same team as the Black baseball player, and he's trying to say, well, it's a lot of pressure, like people are judging me for it. Oh, I'm sorry, people are judging. So he pulls out all these letters. I want you to read these letters.
Oh, I think I've seen this scene. And I've seen this scene. Yeah,
and the letters are all the hate mail that Jackie Robinson's incurred, and it's like hateful and just scary. And it's like, oh, but yeah, right. So forget poor Jackie Robinson.
You're under pressure. Oh, yeah.
And it's like you just see again, just like Boseman, he put this into like there's a scene where he's breaking the bat in pride because he can't do it out in the field. He's just like he gets like racist stuff thrown at him. He's just so angry, but he has to hold that composure. He has to endure it. He has to be dignified. And he just goes down like the little hallway area and he's like bam, he breaks this bat, all the frustration, all the anger, gives like the primal scream. It's like powerful stuff. And again, like the man was kind of. This is a scary factoid about this is like a scary destiny thing. The man was kind of destined to play Jackie Robinson. Chadwick Boseman died on Jackie Robinson Day, August 28th.
That is weird.
Oh, it is. There's Tiki. It gets weirder. There's another. The same day means another thing. We're going to get to that.
Oh no.
Okay.
Is it something to do with James Brown?
No, not James Brown, but no. It's even okay. So again, that's what I'm saying. So it's so this movie makes his career. So this movie absolutely puts Chadwick Boseman on the map. People start to know his name. He was invited to the White House to meet the Obamas because of this film, because it was so well done, and of course such a hugely prolific kind of figure in American history. So yeah, it was huge for him. Let's put him on the map.
Okay, so then we have Get On Up. I wanted to see this track, I just didn't have time. But you said it's kind of Rocket Man-esque in terms of like it's not as much of a straightforward biopic as 42 is. Is that accurate? Like it kind of plays around
that's accurate. Like like he's breaking the fourth wall at times. It's stylistically, it's very. We jump around a lot of years and not necessarily linearly. So yeah, I'd say it's kind of Rocket Man-esque for sure. And this is So this is the first transform. This is really the first time we're seeing Chadwick Boseman, because again, he's an unknown in 42. So that one's like, don't get me wrong, it's impressive, but it's not quite the chameleon effect yet. This is when the chameleon effect really takes place. He transforms for a role. Like what happened was he was invited to James Brown's home by his daughter, and he tried on James Brown's clothing. He researched the role. He had the master of the groove of James Brown, which is not an easy task.
Yeah. No.
You can't just do the Eddie Murphy thing. You can't just like dip a toe in the hot tub. You can't do that. But yeah, he showed the fun and confidence of James Brown, and But here's the impressive thing. Here's why what he did was remarkable. Here is that he also showed he did not shy away from the imperfections of James Brown and the trauma, because we see the trauma of James Brown's upbringing so well and so effectively in this film. It's again, as I mentioned, it's stylish. It's very stylistically ambitious with the editing. Again, all of the Rocket Man in a way. He's just playing this character who, the way that James Brown is framed in this film is that he never had love. He just had an audience and his own persona. That's all he had. It's like James Brown and the audience. It was the relationship between those two things. He never had the true love of another person the way he saw it, because he was so wronged in life. And he just mistook that audience relationship for actual love, which is kind of interesting given the separation Boseman had in his real life. Or think about it. Boseman, the actor, had a relationship with the audience. There's a bit of a parallel there. It's about the actor's relationship with an audience, where you and I, we're practically crying over what happened to Boseman when it happened. We're emotionally shook by it, but we have no right to be, to an extent that we didn't know the man personally.
Especially us, the two whitest people on the internet, as we've already established.
Well, sure, but I mean, just like in general, like, the ordinary audience. Like the audience, we didn't know the man personally, but the audience collectively, we all felt like we did because of that relationship. And it was so palpable. And that's kind of what Boseman's bringing to life here, is that's just flip it to the celebrity side. The celebrity feels the way the audience does, which is crazy. Sure. Yeah, and again, some other like kind of touchstones too, like he played at the Apollo as well, much like Chadwick Boseman did.
All right, so then Marshall Dragon. This I don't know as much about this movie, but it's yet another just kind of like iconic black character in history that he's putting on the shoes of, so it's just kind of like another feather in his cap in that regard. Yeah, I love Marshall. Marshall always gets. Here's the thing: everyone goes to Get On Up, which is great. It is, but Marshall is underrated. It's the critics loved it for sure, but it's like, come on, guys, Marshall's awesome. But people are saying it's a legal movie, but it's a great legal movie. It's the sort of thing where it's like it's kind of big.
basically we took kind of the standard kind of legal thing you've seen 100 times, but again, Boseman added. There's a lot added to it there. I think this is like one of the great versions of the standard procedure kind of legal movie, like like a movie like Just Mercy, which in all fairness I haven't seen. It seems
I have
derivative
not
of
seen
something.
Just Mercy either.
Just looking at the trailer for Just Mercy, it really seems derivative of something like this, where okay, a wrong has been committed, but this is how you do that movie. Though this feels very classy, even though it was done in like 2017. But again, set in the 40s. So this was great. So Thurgood Marshall, of course, he's very famous as the NAACP lawyer who eventually became the first Black Supreme Court justice. And this movie is before he became a judge. So this is him as like he's a lawyer he's a legendary lawyer, as in like if a black man has been charged wrongfully for a crime, he's the guy you call him. It's a simple story, but it has a
Jesse Jackson, pre-Jesse Jackson.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. For me, the story, it's a simple story with a great sell. The great sell is you have this prolific lawyer who depending on who your audience is, they might know he goes on to be awesome. He goes on to be the Supreme Court justice. So you take this prolific lawyer, any way you slice it, but he's not allowed to try the case because, kind of racism. He's not allowed to try the case, but here's what he has to do. He has to try this case via his co-counsel, who was a white man, who was Josh Gad. Josh Gad's really good in this movie, by the way. I love Josh Gad in this movie. He's great. And Josh Gad, he's like an insurance lawyer who's out of his depth, but he's forced to try this criminal case. But again, Thurgood Marshall's like his second chair who can't speak in the courtroom or else he'll get in trouble. That's your sell, man. And they're trying to help Sterling K. Brown, who's kind of he's like a somewhat mentally disadvantaged.
Oh man, great cast. I just want to say that right off the bat. Jesus.
Like James Cromwell is the judge, and there's this honey of a scene.
Jesus,
yes.
This is a stacked cast.
This is what I'm saying. No one's talking about this, but it's great. And it's like, this is post-Civil War, mind you, but that's what I'm saying. So we had clout, and that's maybe why we have such kind of a great cast. But you see Marshall as this, he's the smartest guy in the room. He's kind of playing with he's a lot of fun. Amidst kind of the heavy material, of course, there's a big personal connection here where Thurgood Marshall, Howard University grad, very deep connections for Chadwick Boseman. Of course. Very passionate in Chadwick Boseman in life, by the way. He was very passionate about his pursuit of purpose and justice, justice being the operative word in this case. Very much a very just guy. And for me, there's a scene of Marshall. One of the most powerful scenes in the movie is Sterling K. Brown on the stand, basically saying that he had no choice. Like basically the odds are stacked so much against him, and it's this really powerful scene. Cromwell's phenomenal in it. It's just this movie has a lot of unsung potential. It's kind of what I'm getting at here. It's it's great. So basically, he's like Chadwick Boseman basically plays like a legal Bill Bixby from The Incredible Hulk. That's pretty much what he plays. Like the movie has this great thing where it's like, okay, he just goes to town, he helps out the black man on trial, and then he's off to help the next black man on trial. That's pretty much it's very Bill Bixby-esque, and I guess I was always really like that deep down. This is Marshall, highly underrated film more people need to watch. As great as Get On Up. That's my little PSA for the kids. All right.
All right, and then he takes on, of course, the role of Black Panther. We could talk blue in the face about it. I mean, we've already kind of, what more needs to be said, Dragon? He's, essentially the black equivalent to Christopher Reeve's Superman. He's an icon for the world at this point. Black Panther, of course, he's huge in Civil War, steals the show, and then his own movie, which I got to admit, I was kind of skeptical about in terms of I don't know, are people this movie seems like it's got a lot of weird kind of mystical elements in it. Are people really going to go for it? Yes, people went for it unequivocally. Yes. And even I saw it 3 or 4 times in theaters, Dragon, just because I really dug the world building of it.
Certainly. So yeah, I mean, just in general, the role of Black Panther. I mean, so Chadwick Boseman, again, it's going to sound hokey, but I really feel this way. Chadwick Boseman was put on this earth to be Black Panther.
That's not hokey at all. That's pretty accurate.
The man even prayed for the role. Again, going to the religious elements of Chadwick Boseman. He legitimately prayed for this role when they were casting for it. And it's really sweet. He was the first choice. They didn't have a second doubt who was going to play him. So he didn't even have to pray, but he got it anyway. It's like the stars aligned for him. And here's the other heavy passing thing. The day he died, Jack Kirby's birthday.
Oh God damn! Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Yeah.
As in the man who illustrated Black Panther, the man who brought him to the page along with Stan Lee, died the same day. Again, destiny, man. Jackie Robinson, Black Panther, you name it. Went to Howard University, Marshall. It's like this wonderful
I
loving
know, it's
version of a
weird.
conspiracy. It's like a conspiracy of the fates, if you will. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, there's the again, I love Black Panther, man. I've always loved just kind of the world building element of it. I love the technology.
It's got a great cast of characters as well. It's a movie that really knows how to use its characters.
Certainly. Of course, his career very much built into this and crafting the role, because what he did was he kind of took elements of the other roles that we've gone through right now. Think about it. T'Challa, when he walks into a room like going to Shuri's lab, which we'll talk about, he's got like a James Brown swagger to him. He's got a style to him. He's got when he's being a king, he's being all kingly, he's kind of holding court. He's Marshall, he's Thurgood Marshall. When he's like the warrior, kind of giving his all. When he's the patient athlete. That's Black Panther, man. That's it's T'Challa. That's Jackie Robinson. It's wonderful.
Sure.
This is wonderful. Like all of his roles have been kind of building to this point, one could say. And again, as you said, absolutely the equivalent to Chris Reeve's Superman. I've always loved like the son becoming the father story, very much another parallel to Chris Reeve's Superman as well, I guess. Yeah, like Civil War was the fan service of the highest order. Of it's like the Fantastic Four appearance. He takes them all out. He's the new gun. We love this guy. Black Panther is a wish come true in that film, and then we get more. We're blown away by the Black Panther movie. During the premiere, he had a moment with Bob Iger. Bob Iger saying, "I can't wait for the world to see this movie." Chadwick goes and whispers to him, "I can't wait to change the world." Like he knew how big this movie was going to be. If anyone had doubts, Boseman had no doubts. I mean, it's like the UN scene at the end of Black Panther. He brought people together in that speech. Just like in the whole speech about we don't need borders or barriers anymore. We need to work together. We need to share the world. Essentially, it's phenomenal acting. Again, just one of the best performances by Boseman for sure. And there are ones to compete with. Believe me, there's a lot of great performances.
One in particular that we're about to get to.
Absolutely. Of course, the only thing I'm going to say with Infinity War and kind of Endgame at the moment here is like towards the end with the Black Panther character. Unfortunately, we have to kind of tally up the moments now because unfortunately there's not going to be any more after What If, which is very tragic. I always loved the arc and friendship he had with Captain America. Like they're fighting each other at the end of that Act 1 scene, but they're kind of besties by the end of that movie. And we have and get that man a shield. It's like because I always loved that dynamic.
That's a trailer moment if there ever was one, Dragon.
It is. And again, while all this is happening, as he's making this magic happen, again, he's going through surgeries and chemo that no one knows about.
Yeah, right.
No
one,
not even Disney. They know everything.
Yeah, yes, they do. That's a fact.
Yeah. So again, he just hung on. And the thing, he hung on for this important role. And like his kids, he would visit kids in the hospital and they would hang on. They'd say they were hanging on for Black Panther. They were like, I've seen Boseman cry in interviews about this. And now if you look back at these interviews, like, oh my God, he's crying about the sick kids. Yes, but also he's crying because he's relating to the struggle about not having enough time. But he's got to he's got to push on. This is like while he's in the midst of making Black Panther, this is going through his mind. It's Herculean what he's doing here.
Yeah.
Right, so speaking of counting the final moments, we should talk kind of the final entries, kind of the last gifts of Boseman to the world in the acting sense. So,
all right. So I haven't seen 21 Bridges, so you can take the lead on that.
Yes, I like 21 Bridges. I think the critics were they were split on it, and I think they were a little harsh. I think it was just kind of the sort of like you've seen one cop movie, you've seen every cop movie. This was this was a solid one. This is the Russos.
I share that sentiment, in all honesty.
Yeah, but I'd still recommend this one, man. It's this is so the Russos, they produced this. It's very much tied. It's kind of tied to Boseman's time in New York. Kind of the guy living in Brooklyn for a while. Boseman plays a detective in this film, a detective living up to his honest cop father who died in the line of duty, and it's kind of like there's like a hope for good policing kind of built into the film. It's not hitting you over the head or anything. It's like he's a really good cop asking that you want the police to ask smart questions. That's what this character represents, and has a great sell as well. Where basically it's like a ticking clock device with the 21 Bridges, as if we have until 5 a.m. to find the suspects. and Boseman's trying not to have them get killed by angry police officers in these cop-related shootings that happen. They kind of kick off the whole mess necessarily. So basically, it's like we close off the 21 bridges of the 5 boroughs to find these guys. It's a great ticking clock device within kind of your cop movie. Which it's Boseman seeing. Think about it, we've never had Boseman necessarily repeat a role outside the Black Panther franchise. Like he's played a lawyer, he's played a singer, he's played a baseball player, he's played a detective. So that's really kind of unique within his catalog, and I think 21 bridges kind of adds to that. Okay.
All right, then we get to The Five Bloods, and of course, he's got a short but just very, very pivotal role in that movie. He's essentially the
moral center.
The moral center. Yes, thank you. I couldn't have summed it up better myself. And yeah, I mean, Dragon, I think there's a very good chance that he's going to get nominated for both The Five Bloods and Ma Rainey this year. I really do.
Yeah, he's like
it's crazy that he went out on like some of his absolute like best acting, like at the very end.
Yeah, I love what he did in The Five Bloods, man. It's I love that Stormin Norman, the character he plays, he's kind of the ethical reason for the journey to Vietnam in the film, and it's really eerie that again he's playing this war hero who passed, so he's playing a dead character within the movie. That's not a spoiler. It's just kind of like.
All right, we're going to be here all day. We keep going through the eerie connections, Dragon. But yeah, you're right.
Okay, but here's like a sweet connection, man. This one's really nice, and I would love to think that they had a conversation about this, but I don't think only Spike Lee's going to know this. So Spike Lee, very famously, in Do the Right Thing, the landmark movie of Spike Lee, there is, all the kids want to get into Sal's Pizza, and they're saying, "Hey, Black Panther eat pizza, we eat pizza."
right.
So. Yes. So of course, this is reference to I think it was Black Panther #4. I'm not sure. In the comics, Black Panther was eating pizza, so that was the touchstone. That was the thing.
That's so great.
I would think about it. It's just and Spike Lee was originally supposed to make 42, but that fell through. Oh, okay. So it's really kind of nice that throughout the career, like towards the end, at least one time, Chadwick Boseman got to work with Spike Lee. So in a sense, I mean, if there was craft service on that film, I'd like to think. Black Panther got to eat his pizza, man. I love the idea that these two like Spike Lee makes that one reference and he actually gets to work with Black Panther. Yeah. I think that's rather nice, and also it's Boseman getting his shot at an old school movie star status, where again he's kind of playing in this it's kind of a quasi remake of Treasure of the Sierra Madre. That film's like a lot of Treasure of the Sierra Madre in there, so he gets to be like an old school movie star, in a film. It's really nice.
Speaking of old school movie star quality, Dragon, that is absolutely what I think he has in Ma Rainey, because, oh man, I really do think Ma Rainey might be the performance of his career, Dragon. I really do. I mean, he is just absolutely just magnetic in that movie. I mean, say what you will about the movie itself, the messages are a little heavy-handed. I'm not going to deny that. But, man, I just love how his character is such a boiling point of tension, and, he says everything about like kind of like the ambitions of being a Black person in this country, and how you have to have your ambitions in check, but you also have to have your expectations in check as well. And it's just kind of this constant balance and the constant just it's almost like you're acting through life, kind of like acting how people expect you to act. And again, that's another kind of parallel with the acting of it all, but I don't know, man. Ma Rainey just really got to me in terms of like, it very much kind of, this is a weird comparison, Dragon, but it really, really kind of has like a Heath Ledger Joker quality to it, where I truly think it's his best work. And it's like it is the last live action performance that we got from him, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's literally like saving the best for last. I mean, it's almost haunting, like just how great he is up on screen in that particular movie, and that's the last we're gonna see of him. I mean, for me, that's kind of profound that he kind of ended in such a big way.
Absolutely. I mean, look, while I'm not fully sold necessarily on the movie, his performance, I will not take the performances in that movie are stellar. I mean, his monologue work is so artful in that film. Which, again, it's very cyclical in two respects. In that one, he's returning to his theater roots with an August Wilson play. Again,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, for me, my favorite monologue is the white man revenge kind of monologue. When we learn what the white man did to his, to his father, and it's tragic to his family, and it's that scene, that to me, that's like the monologue of the piece. I know the ending one's pretty powerful too, but that's the one I get into. But yeah, and also the other kind of cyclical element here is that this movie was produced by Denzel Washington. So yet again, Denzel bringing kind of
Who,
Chadwick
of course,
Boseman.
he also made Fences, which is another August Wilson play.
And again, it's kind of nice, like, again, the reunion of Chadwick Boseman's beginnings in a sense. Really, really nice. And again, this deserves basically this movie deserves the award attention that basically earns the award attention, particularly the Oscar attention. That I was shocked when I went through. I tried looking at Chadwick Boseman's accolades, and I'm still shocked that he never got an Oscar nomination. And we don't know what the Oscar nominations are yet. I mean, assumedly, it is, right? I mean, never got a not even a nomination. I mean, I know
this year's going to change that, and know it. But
I know it is. I'm just saying, at this moment in time, we can't just like rip off the band and say, and he won the Oscar as he should have.
Right.
But I'm just saying, it's just crazy that I'm sure this one, perfect.
Dragon, I will say his main competition is Daniel Kaluuya. In all honesty.
True. Well, the Oscars are so screwed up this year. I don't even know if that's going to count for this year.
Yeah, that counts this year.
Well, then, yeah, it's his main competition, which is, again, yet another odd kind of 6 degrees of separation. You're like, hey, also in Black Panther.
Right.
It was the guy in the border tribe. All right. Anyway, so that brings. So let's kind of talk some of the impactful highlights from the man's career. Some like the kind of the top tier moments from the life and career of Chadwick Boseman. Some major things we want to talk about. Tiki, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So let's go to the lab scene from Black Panther. And the funny thing is, Dragon, people point to this scene in particular for a reason they don't like the movie, but to me, it was the moment where I absolutely fell in love with the character, like even more so than in Civil War. Because in Civil War, you fall in love with how much of a badass he is.
Yeah.
In this scene, this is where you get the humanity of T'Challa. And I love how warm he is. I love how jokey he is with Shuri. Of course, we get the infamous "What are those?" Which, Dragon, you and I at the time, we had no idea that was a meme, and I will stick by my viewing experience with the movie, not knowing that was a meme. I just think it was an adorable brother-sister interaction, even if it was a meme. I stand by it. My only disappointment with that scene is that the sneakers are never relevant in the rest of the movie because it's such a cool technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that lab scene, Dragon, like I said, it's like, of course, the first little bit of Black Panther, we got the action going on, we got kind of some world building in Wakanda, and this is the first real scene that it's like, all right, we're really kind of taking a peek behind the curtain of this guy. It's not him in some sort of like really tense political atmosphere. It's really him in his most comfortable setting, And so I really think he does a great job of just kind of letting his guard down and playing cool while still being kind of a super respectful guy. So, the lab scene has always stuck out to me for that. It's one of my favorite scenes in Black Panther. People give it shit because of the "what are those" moment.
Well, no, it is a great scene. Also, I love the fact that King T'Chaka loved Back to the Future too.
Yes.
But I mean, of course,
King T'Chaka has good taste because Back to the Future 2 is definitively the best Back to the Future movie, and I don't care what anyone says.
I'm just kind of inch away from you right now, but okay. Anyway,
right.
But also, of course, in that lab scene, I love the fact that T'Challa built. Honestly, I as cool as the other suit is, I still love the Civil War suit for obvious reasons. But I love that he built that suit. I love that he sewed that vibranium himself, man. That was touched me in that lab scene. That's why I always love that suit, man. He built that suit. It's nice. Anyway. Okay, so for me, I would say, in my humble opinion, the finest performance moment of Chadwick Boseman's career is the second ancestral plane scene from Black Panther. The scene where he's calling out his father and all the past kings of Wakanda out for the egregious thing they did in the Black Panther movie. And it's just such a powerful, raw scene. Again, in this, like, you think initially a pretty straightforward, like, a son trying to honor the father by being a good king story.
Like, at first we think it's going to be like a Mufasa moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, they have like all these wonderful sort of like, we have these wonderfully complex ripples in that story, in this film. And I just love that, he basically, he's basically saying that things need to change. And honestly, this is kind of Black Panther's Winter Soldier moment. This is like Cap saying, no, we don't rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. We take it all down. This is kind of like the Black Panther equivalent of that, where it's, for me, it was when Boseman just shouts to his father, tears in his eyes, just shouting at the man that he held in such a high regard after he's crestfallen by him. He's instantly, as they're trying to defend their actions, saying he knew too many secrets, and then it kind of goes from there. It's like, all of you were wrong. All of you were wrong.
Yeah.
It's like when he does that, man. It's like that's just his. That's the refusal. Like this whole movie's been like trying to defend the Wakandan way, and we realize no, we've been selfish. We've been keeping it to ourselves. People, we isolated people. We worried too much about protecting ourselves, and the world has suffered. And it's just this.
That's the really interesting thing about Black Panther as a movie, is that it is a movie about isolationism.
Yeah. And I just love, like, the end of that scene is, because you can only be in the ancestral plane for so long as you can breathe, essentially. I just love that it builds to this moment of his refusal to rest so long as, their mistake threatens other people with, Killmonger. It's like, I have to go back. My work, like, it's like the whole, you can never go back moment almost. It's like, I have to go back to fix your mess, to fix the systemic mess. I can't be a dead king yet. I have to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful stuff, man. It's my favorite Boseman scene, yeah.
Okay, so for me, with Ma Rainey, it's hard to eclipse the big moment where him and this title character go head to head. Because of course, what I love about it is that the whole movie is kind of like building up, like, Ma just wants us to play it like Ma wants, and then of course, Levy is just like, no, hell no, I'm gonna play it like I want to play it. Lev's gonna play it like Lev's gonna play, and then so it's just two titanic personalities dragging. And then, with Ma Rainey, we've seen her throughout the movie kind of like chewing out pretty much anyone who comes in her path. So really, I feel like this, in a weird way, is the most exciting action scene of Chadwick Boseman's career, even though it's literally just two people in a room talking. It's got just as much intense buildup as anything in the MCU, weirdly enough. Just based on the fact that these two are just, they're just such huge personalities. And when you finally get them in a room together, oh man, the fireworks are just absolutely palatable. To me, that whole, that whole kind of like powder keg element of Ma Rainey is sort of what sets that movie apart for me, why I like it so much, why it's on my top 10 of the year. Because you can really just, feel that tension. You can really, with that movie, just the way they shoot, it doesn't have flashy camera work by any means, but the way they shoot that claustrophobic environment, and the fact that it's like the hottest day of the summer, it's like you really feel the literal boiling points there, and it's exhilarating to watch.
I'm gonna take that Boseman and Viola Davis. I'm gonna raise you one, sir.
Okay.
Take it. The scene from Get On Up, which, Tiki, if you can only watch one scene from the movie, I want you to watch this scene. It's James Brown and his mom having their scene in the movie. So it's a very powerful scene between these two actors. It's so raw. We see Viola Davis early in the movie with young James Brown as a kid, and Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis only have one scene in the movie together. It's this scene when she comes back.
Oh.
So the idea is that she's abandoned him. They had we saw this heartbreaking abandonment scene where she just kind of twice, or she just kind of she leaves the kid, and she just does not take him back, very maliciously so in the second case. And this one scene, man, it's just this boy the whole movie is this boy searching for love that he deluded himself that it's a love affair with the audience. Like the love that his mother kind of abandoned is like the love he found with an audience. And he's basically built this persona out of that. Now that he's made a name for himself, the mother has returned because of his fame. And she's like, hey, you're my baby. He says, I ain't your baby. I ain't your boy. Like, I'm not, he's just shutting her down.
Uh-huh.
And this whole thing, she's throwing out this whole, again, she's throwing out the whole, he hates her, but he knows it's like a duty to take care of your mother. Like she points out, again, it's like a desperate person clinging to your fame, trying to leech off his fame, just saying I carried you, so I am your mother. But again, it's like a calm scene. She's not yelling at him or anything. It's just this calm, heartbreaking scene. With I think the thing that gets me in that scene is when James Brown, she begins to cry, and James Brown says, the way Boseman says, "Don't cry. I'm James Brown." Basically, the response is, "Don't cry. I'm James Brown. So you have nothing to like. Don't cry for me. I'm fine. Look at what I've done. Look what I've accomplished for myself. James Brown don't need no one." And it's just so sad. Just like it's come to that point, and see like this. It's a wonderfully heartbreak. Okay. All right. I guess briefly for me, the dusting and re-entrance of Black Panther in the MCU was really powerful. Again, for me, it's chilling how that plays, seeing him dust in Infinity War, knowing his fate, truly, knowing the fact that in real life he doesn't come back. That's what's really sad about that to me. But the thing, it's just such a powerful moment that of all the people who come out of that portal, we're all expecting Sam Wilson, but we get Black Panther, and it feels right. I can't explain it, but it just feels right. When Black Panther kind of walks out of that portal, and Cap and T'Challa exchange this look. It's this look of hope, and it's like this support of like these two warriors that fought in battle together. Of like Cap being like completely alone against Thanos' army, and T'Challa walks in. You feel absolutely secure. Like, hey, I'm here for you. Like, here, you're not alone. It's like it's a beautiful sense of just it's wonderful.
Okay, so I'm sorry. You can go through yours, and then I'll go to Black Jeopardy.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, please. Go through Black Jeopardy. Yes.
Okay, good. Black Jeopardy, man. SNL. This is I think this is one of SNL's like gold sketches that they're still doing, man. I really do. Like every time they do this, it's just absolutely great. Of course, Chadwick Boseman on Black Jeopardy, hosted by, of course, the incomparable Kenan Thompson, who will probably have to do a Black History Heroes on at some point in the future, Dragon. That's a guy who's kind of carved out his own niche. But, T'Challa, of course, he's not so, it's kind of trippy, Dragon. There's a meta element to the fact that, you say that Boseman, he was always trying to avoid the stereotypical kind of like Black, quote unquote, God, excuse me for using this phrase, but the gangsta flavor of his, of some of the roles that he avoided. And I feel like that's coming like full head in this Black Jeopardy sketch. You know what I mean? Because it's like, hey, T'Challa, here's all this stereotypical, really like urban Black slang and stuff. And T'Challa he's so innocently just does not know any of it, right? And he's just, he just seems like such a Boy Scout in the sketch, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know, I could just go through the whole thing, where he's just like, he just wants to prop up everything, he just wants to see everything with a positive spin, there's absolutely, and then of course Kenan Thompson kind of egging him into the oh hell nah thing.
And of course, like the whole Karen potato salad thing.
So just classic, just absolutely classic. I'm so glad that clip exists, Dragon, because I feel like that clip is like the ultimate kind of like Chadwick Boseman is an everyman. You know what I mean?
And again, I love you didn't take down the character at all. It's like this is how Black Panther would react.
Absolutely how the character would react. Yeah.
Again, I love like just Kenan Thompson.
It's like a bonus scene of T'Challa outside of the MCU.
Because we know he goes stateside. It's like, what is T'Challa doing while he's stateside? Well, he's gonna go on Black Jeopardy, I guess. He's going to Disneyland. He's going on Black Jeopardy.
Oh God! By the way, that's what we need to see. Shuri goes to Disneyland, Dragon. That's still a sketch that we need to see.
That we do. Of course, I just love the whole the Kenan Thompson just being like, "Well, it should be that way, but it's not. But it should be."
Right.
Right.
Oh man, just absolutely. Like I said, Dragon, I'm just so glad that clip exists because Boseman, he was an icon, but he was an everyman at the same point, and he never wanted to brag about how big of an icon he really was. So seeing T'Challa just so humble in this little sketch, I feel like I said, it's a great testament to his whole philosophy, I think.
Yeah. So for me, okay, last but definitely not least moment. I gotta get in there. So towards the end, Chadwick Boseman gave a speech at Denzel Washington's AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. And this is like one of the sweetest things ever in a career I could imagine. So Chadwick Boseman, who, as we've stated already, so again, he was given his start. He was given he was funded. Basically, he paid. His school was paid for by Denzel Washington. He's really bonded with Denzel Washington, hence his appearance here. And Boseman gives a speech where essentially he says there would be no Black Panther without Denzel Washington. And the house is clapping, and you see Denzel Washington has tears in his eyes. And he stands up, and like the only person at the whole affair that he stood up for was Chadwick Boseman, clapping. It's like, you know, after he was finished speaking, and like how wonderfully full circle of reward from the next generation. Basically the next generation thanking the teacher that brought him there. How nice is that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so let's. I guess we should talk kind of the impact, like kind of we're looking at the last word, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, what more needs to be said, Dragon? I mean, this guy is just going to go down as like an all-time great in the, in the field of not just Black actors, but just Black icons in general. I mean, like I said, I think the ultimate thesis statement for him is, the very simple idea, of, hey, he played all these icons, and then in playing the icons, he became an icon in its own right. But like I said, it's the playing the icons that got him famous, Dragon. But I feel like it's the charity work that really cemented his legacy as a hero. So I mean, it's just staggering. The man just has a fascinating, just storied history to him. There's all these weird little 6 degrees of separation between him and the characters he played. Jim Carrey, eat your heart out in that regard, frankly. But yeah, man, I think it's, I think his death was just such a tragic thing to go through, especially, like I said, especially for Black youths. It must have been like losing Superman. It really must have been. I can't even imagine how hard it was. So just the fact that we've got all this media now where, we see the lighter side of him, we see the more serious side of him. He's such a fleshed out, fully 3-dimensional human being for all the work that he's done. I feel like that's the ultimate kind of legacy that he leaves behind. It's no one character. It's more just kind of like the actual fingerprints of the man himself that he left behind that I really think is going to make the legacy what it is.
Certainly. As for me, to kind of sum it up, I guess, Chadwick Boseman, in a sense, transcended acting by becoming the icons he portrayed. Learning from them, embodying them, he told their stories to millions. He became, the Christopher Reeve of this generation for sure, both in becoming Black Panther, but also, much like Christopher Reeve, living up to that legend and responsibility in his day-to-day life. He embodied everything that character stood for. I mean, the man always looked out for the kids and the world that they're going to leave behind. Hollywood invested in this young man, and he gave back to the industry tenfold. I mean, he became an activist of pop culture, essentially. So he became an activist of pop culture, like an MLK or a Malcolm X of the big screen, which is appropriate given he was mentored by a Malcolm X of the big screen in Denzel. They say heroes, biblical and otherwise, achieve their greatest accomplishments and overcome these mythical feats in their final days. And I feel Chadwick Boseman, he worked to change the world till the very end. Whether it be, in his battle, he showed us that we can find inner strength, we can endure, we can help each other, and right now we all know he's resting on the ancestral plane somewhere. So, and hopefully as beautiful as the ancestral plane. But if there's one thing to be said about Chadwick Boseman's legacy, it's an old Wakandan proverb: death is not the end; it's more of a stepping off point. Hail to the king!
All right, well said. All right, folks. Well, that's all for now until next year when we look at more inspirational figures who showed us that the world's simply not black or white, but brilliant with color, as well as character.
The next installment of Black History Heroes. In Bombay!